After studying this lesson, you will be able to reason based on consequences and reason using ethical rules. Ethical reasoning about right and wrong takes two basic forms. One form is based on consequences. Rightness or wrongness is based only on the results of the action. An act that produces good consequences is good. An act that produces bad consequences is bad. The other form of moral reasoning is based on ethical rules. Acts are either right or wrong. Consequence-based reasoning recognizes that lying usually produces bad consequences. Rule-based ethics say that lying is always wrong. Consequence-based reasoning first looks for alternative ways to alter the current situation. Then it attempts to forecast the consequences that will arise from each alternative. Finally, it evaluates those possible consequences to select the alternative that will generate the greatest good. Let's take a look at those in more depth. First, describe or list the alternatives that would improve the situation in order to then evaluate them. Second, the consequences flowing from each alternative must be described. This requires skill in predicting the future. It requires an ability to see things such as, if I build the fence 1 foot inside my neighbor's property, they probably won't notice. Third, the consequences for each alternative must be evaluated. There are two elements to the evaluation process: selecting the standard for judging consequences as right or wrong, and counting the persons affected. In consequence-based reasoning, the standard is judged by the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Good is the primary goal toward which human life should be directed. The good involves native basic goals such as love, justice, truth, and pleasure. These all motivate a reasoning person's actions and important decisions. With fundamental ethical rules, the acts themselves are judged as right or wrong. The standard for judging usually comes from one of two sources, as recognized authority or human reasoning. Decisions based on authority. An authority such as the law or a religious text can say that stealing is wrong. When an accepted authority has a rule on an issue, the rule tells the follower of that law or religion what is right and wrong. Decisions based on reasoning. In addition to an authority, human reasoning also can show that some things are basically wrong. A test has been devised to determine whether an action is right or wrong. It involves picturing in your mind's eye everyone in the world doing this action. This is called universalizing the action. As you picture everyone doing the action, then ask, is this irrational, illogical, or self-defeating? If it is any of the three, the action is inconsistent with reason and therefore ethically wrong. With rule-based reasoning, you cannot justify an action by showing that it produces good consequences, whereas in consequences-based reasoning, an act that produces bad consequences is bad. In rule-based reasoning, an act is wrong even if it benefits more people than it helps if the act itself is wrong. Who determines whether an act is right or wrong with rule-based reasoning? The religious authorities, legal systems, and human reasoning. Moral rights are rightful claims on other people that flow from each person's status as a human being. With reason-based consequences, rightness or wrongness is based only on the results of the action. An act that produces good consequences is good. An act that produces bad consequences is bad. With reasoning based on ethical rules, acts are either right or wrong. Consequence-based reasoning recognizes that lying usually produces bad consequences. Rule-based ethics say that lying is always wrong.